Well, the Supreme Court is set to issue the final rulings of its 9-month term today, including a big decision about judicial power and nationwide injunctions. That decision could impact the Trump administration's plans to end birthright citizenship. Yesterday, the High Court ruled South Carolina can cut off Medicaid funds to Planned Parenthood, opening the door for Republican-led states to take similar action. CBS News national correspondent Jan Crawford is live at the Supreme Court now. Jan, good morning. Do we have any sense of how the justices are leaning in the birthright citizenship case, and what kind of ripple effects could that ruling have?
You know, it's always difficult to predict how the justices are going to rule, and they can certainly change their minds. But I think based on their questions and oral arguments, it seems clear that they are prepared to really rein in the use of these nationwide injunctions, which has exploded dramatically really since 2015. And we've had presidents from both parties. This is a bipartisan issue. Do not like these kind of broad orders that apply to everyone in the country, because it can really stymie what a president wants to do. President Biden, for example, on immigration, on vaccine mandates, student loan debt relief, all of those things, judges in Texas were entering these nationwide injunctions, blocking them. And now, under President Trump, we have judges in some of the blue states entering the nationwide injunctions, blocking some of his executive orders. And one in this case, as you mentioned, is about birthright citizenship. And judges in that case issued these broad rulings that applied well beyond the parties who are before the court, which is typically how it works, and applied instead to everyone all over the country. And so that's the issue, the power of judges. And I suspect that Trump will win this case. But that doesn't mean that this executive order will ever take effect. What it means is the court will find some kind of way to send a message to the lower courts that they've gone too far and they need to step back and issue this only in certain circumstances. For example, when people, perhaps in this case, I think, file a class action, that could apply nationwide. So there are some cases where it would be appropriate, but the judges, I think the court will say, really need to step back and rein some of those things in. And that will, like you said, affect many of President Trump's other cases that are in the lower courts, where he's now facing at least 40, maybe 50 of these nationwide injunctions. It'll scale some of those back, too.
And Jan, we also mentioned
it may not have much of an impact.
Sure. And Jan, we also mentioned that the court ruled states can cut funding to Planned Parenthood. What kind of fallout could we see from that?
You know, that was not a case about abortion or about Planned Parenthood's status as an abortion provider. It was a fight over Republican efforts to defund it from Medicaid. And we saw this case come from South Carolina. So I think because the court in that 6-3 decision said that the Medicaid Act doesn't give people the right to sue to get the specific provider of their choice, that will mean that these red states can essentially say, Planned Parenthood, you're not going to get any more of this Medicaid funding. In South Carolina, the year before this case was filed, that was about $84,000 that went to Planned Parenthood. So it will have some significance in terms of the bottom line for Planned Parenthood in some of these conservative states, I believe.
All right, Jan Crawford, big day at the Supreme Court. Thanks for your reporting.